Hello and welcome to another edition of Capcom Confidential. I'm one of your hosts, Pete Fabiano.
And I'm your other host, Matt Walker.
And the usual spiel of please continue to listen and please subscribe. The more feedback, the better. We really love hearing from you guys, and we hope you enjoy listening to us.
Yeah, we were pretty excited when we looked the other day and found out that a lot of the people that listen subscribe, right?
Yeah, actually, especially on iTunes, that's for sure.
You know, so that was pretty cool.
It was something like 97%. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So hopefully that means that if you listen, you like it. And if not, we'd love to hear your feedback as to why you don't or what we can do better.
Yep.
That really does help us.
Yep. All right, Pete. What we got going on today?
Well, today we have two of our Spanish localization experts.
Espanol.
That's right. That's I think Spanish for Spanish.
I think so.
And Matt, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guests?
All right. Well, hailing from Spain, we have Manuel Trillo.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is that right?
Yeah,
that's right. Right?
Yeah, Trillo, yeah.
All right.
Pretty good.
Nice. Good deal.
Yeah.
And then Alberto.
Paque. That's my name,
Yes. He does it so much better than I would have done it. Nice.
But your name is hyphenated, right?
No, it's not, but we have two last names in Spain. So many times when people write it in English, they hyphenate them. But that's not really correct.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, but what I meant by that, that makes sense. I guess in Spanish you don't do that. But you end up keeping your mother's maiden name, is that right?
Yep. For one generation. Well, the law has just recently changed, so actually now it is possible to carry it through many generations. It's supposed to be completely gender equal. So when you have a kid, you choose the order of the last names, which one goes first, the father or the mother.
That's interesting. And if you keep the maiden name through multiple generations, does that mean that the maiden names will then stack?
So you'll have 18 different
right? So
names.
The grandkid would then have 3 last names, and then you keep. Is that how
that
it
would be
works?
cool. You end up sounding like a Lord of the Rings character.
Yeah. That'd be pretty sweet, man. Okay, so that's how it works. It didn't occur to me that there was that some people thought about the hyphen thing. I didn't realize there was
I didn't realize that was incorrect.
Okay.
But I guess in English sometimes that happens, but it does not happen in the Spanish-speaking territories.
Mm-hmm. But they'd still be separated, right? There'd still be a space between the maiden.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, right on.
Cool. So, as everyone knows, this is a podcast about dev stories. So we're going to go right into...
Sweet, we're going to jump right in?
We're going to jump right in.
Which one are we going to start with?
Oh, that's tough.
All right, who wants to go first? All right, well, Manu.
Okay.
Alberto.
I didn't even have it.
Alberto has decided that Manu's going first.
Just point to me with it.
So there we go. All right, you going to do your stick?
Oh, well, what's your deal?
There
it works, but it's too vague, so let's go ahead and start. So, whereabouts in Spain were you born? Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Seville, or Sevilla in Spanish, and I just stayed there for 1 year, and my family moved to Canary Island, and then I was brought up there until I was 11-year-old, and then I moved to Malaga where I spent back in Andalusia in the south of Spain, and then I spent there most of my life.
Okay.
And
I'm just imagining this perfect place.
It sounds pretty sweet, yeah.
Beaches,
right?
Yeah, well, apart from Canary Island and Malaga both are next to the sea, so
right.
Wow,
cool. That's one of the things I miss. Living here in Osaka, we're pretty. As you know,
we got an island.
We got a port.
We got a port over there. You go down.
Which is kind of depressive, compared to
yeah, it's not the most
beautiful. It's not the same. Still, the
sure.
water. But yeah, that was when I was conceived.
Basically, you stayed your entire life in Spain, and then you came to Japan.
I came to school. Well, I went to Canada first for a few months. That was 10 years ago, and then I just spent 3 months in Canada, and then I came to Japan. That was around 2009.
Well,
I guess before we get there. More go.
Sorry, spoiler.
Well, I think everybody knows you're in Osaka.
Yeah.
But, so, what did you go to school for? What was it like? So you traveled, or you moved around? 2-3 times? It sounds like within Spain.
Yes. Yeah, I mean school. You mean university and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did 3 years of journalism. I was 18, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I just like music, and I just wanted. I had
Wait a minute. You like music, so you're like, I'm gonna go into journalism.
No, the thing is, I was playing. So I had a band at the time.
Right.
We were like what, like 18 or something. That I started when I was 16. Was playing drums, and all I wanted to do was just play with the band. I didn't care about. I mean, I just kept my studies going, so everyone in the family would be happy.
Like a side project.
Yeah, but I wasn't interested. I just wanted to play.
Your passion. Your el pasión.
La pasión.
La
yeah.
pasión. I already fucked it up. I already forgot. You knew I was going to screw something up. But.
You know. So what happened is, yeah, my grandfather, he liked a lot journalism, and so he was kind of the one invited me to. Well, you don't know what to study. Why don't you do journalism? And then I did it for like 3 years, but I hated it, and I hated the school, and I hated the people there.
Wow.
a lot of distaste for those
Yeah,
around you.
it was kind of like upper class kind of school.
Okay.
It was very expensive. But it didn't.
So wait, you were pretty good, or I would say, I guess you were fairly intelligent enough to get into a school of that caliber.
No, actually,
Or he
I
had
don't
money.
think. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. My grandfather had the money.
I see.
okay.
So he kind of like paid for me to study whatever he wanted me to study.
And like an elite school, was it then?
It was kind of like, yeah, it was kind of, it's like one of those private schools.
What did your grandpa do that he had all this money?
Well, actually, he saved a lot of money during all his life. He was a hard worker. He was a mechanic, and,
Cool.
and a teacher too.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
an interesting combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a mechanic and a teacher. He had like this garage in one village in Spain, and so yeah, he was just like very good saving money. Actually.
I find that amazing, actually, because the generation before us, or in this case, 2 generations before us, they knew the value of money, and they sacrificed a lot just to save because it was really important for them.
Yeah.
You do hear a lot of stories like that, right?
Right?
Yeah.
And like you hear that he went to an elite school, and you think,
Right.
oh, well, he came from money, right?
Right.
But actually,
Yeah.
that's not the case. It just turns out.
No,
that-
yeah, it wasn't the case, and it was actually a waste of money because, as I said, I really hate the place. I mean, I said I hate the people. I didn't hate all the people, but yeah, some people.
The majority. Of
Yeah,
the
the
people.
majority. We didn't get along. Yeah.
What about that interest in music? Where did that come from?
My father loved music. He was when I was a child. He was listening to all kinds of music all the time, and I was just.
Did he play anything, or did he sing anything?
He played drums for a couple of years when he was like in his 30s and something like that.
Okay.
What did he do?
He was a doctor.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
He was a surgeon, actually.
Wow, okay. Do you remember what his specialty was? Then what surgeon?
It's called cardiovascular.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nice. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't know where I am now.
Oh, just music.
So he was like exposing me to all these Pink Floyd and Iron Maiden. And,
Wait, Pink Floyd. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin and all that stuff.
So mostly in the rock genre.
Yeah, and then that's where the music came from, and that's why I ended up making a band and all that, and not caring about whatever I had to study.
That's cool.
So back to the journalism thing. So I did it for 3 years. I didn't finish it. Third year it was a disaster. So I told my dad I just don't want to do this anymore. I was already in my 20s. This doesn't make any sense to me, even if I don't care about it. So I think we're all wasting money and time here, and it's going nowhere. So I switched to wonderful public university in Malaga, and I studied. I know you guys in English. I think it's called just major in English, but in Spanish it's called philology.
Okay.
Which is a bunch of subjects like semantics and
Okay.
literature,
Like
history.
rhetoric. Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it's a lot of stuff. It's
It
very.
would be like Spanish studies in the US or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
All
But-
about
but
Spain.
in-
Okay,
but
okay.
in English, yeah. So we have like English, like Britain history, and then America and stuff. And it's very interesting, and yeah. So that's what I studied, and that's why I got my degree and all that.
So you couldn't speak English until that moment? Is that when you started speaking English?
I could speak English because you know I love music. I was listening to music all the time and reading lyrics and all this. So I was doing that since I was like 8 years old, 9 years old. So already like trying to read. Of course, at that age I didn't understand what the lyric was all about. It was just like, imitating the sound, something like that. But as I grew up, I kind of like got interested in English. I always liked the English language for some reason. I don't know why.
That's pretty cool. Do you remember when you could first kind of hold a conversation in English?
A whole conversation in English, man. I can't tell you, man.
It's probably a while back then.
So it was a long time ago.
Yeah. I don't remember.
And that was through your own studies. It wasn't like you went to language school or anything like that.
No. I didn't go to any language school.
Wow, so you're always exposed.
Just we have in I think from school, like before high school, like
I think
we already have English.
Yeah,
now.
like from 7 years old or something
we
like
already
that.
have
I
English,
think,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's compulsory to
Yeah.
learn English in school anyways.
Now it starts at an earlier age than before, I think.
Okay.
But at our time, it was like from 7 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, the level was really low.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Does everyone, because in Japan, they study for what, like 10 years or so? And most of them can't really speak English unless they pursue it another way.
Right.
But, you two are obviously quite fluent, so...
Well, in general, I'd say Spain is no different than Japan in that. Like most people study English for years and years, and only very few are actually able to hold a conversation.
Interesting. Okay. Because you're living in Spain. So
sure.
You don't speak with anyone, so
right.
There's no really reason to use it or speak it. So
that's why we have to localize our games.
Fair enough.
Otherwise, we'll be jobless then. So
wait for the AI to take over.
Oh yeah, that's coming. Coming soon.
The journalism thing, not so much, but then you did this thing that was more of kind of like a study of like all things English and kind of related to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Much more interesting.
So once you, I assume you got your degree in that, right?
Yes.
And then once you got your degree in that, what happened after that?
Well, what happened is I was very lucky actually, because the day after I graduated, I already had my first job interview through a friend of mine, and it was in the airport as a sales agent, check-in agent for a company called Welling. That there was just they opened the base in Malaga at that time, so the timing was really right. And I started there. I worked there for like a year, and didn't like, I had to, you have to talk to people all the time and sell tickets and all that stuff. Right. I didn't like that. And there was this opening for a flight dispatcher, and it was just like in Spain. I think in the US it's kind of like more strict. You have to study for a long time,
right.
And it's very thorough. But in Spain it's a little bit more. And how
lax.
I was going to say, that's not really incomplete, but it's very thorough
not as
too.
strict.
But it's shorter, so just like a month or something.
I have a question. So, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
this might have been around a time where unemployment for people in their 20s was close to 50%. Is that right?
In Spain?
Yeah, in Spain.
Yeah, I think so. No? I don't know.
That would be in the middle of the financial crisis.
Right, 2000.
I think this was
Which
before,
year
wasn't
are we
it?
talking about?
Let's say 2009, 10.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, that was the time we left. That was exactly the year we left.
Because it would have been a rough
Yeah.
time, right? Right around there, because
From my friends,
memory,
I
right?
can say that. Yeah,
So you were really lucky to have a job at that point, I imagine.
I think
Yes.
Our timing in living in Spain was really, really lucky, because we left right before the whole economy, whole world economy went down the drain. So at least we had something to hold on to.
Okay, so you're a dispatcher.
Yeah, so I worked there for like 5 years or something. I really loved that job. That was really cool, man. That
cool.
Was, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I got to speak English with the flight crews and all that stuff, and I learned a lot, and that was a really enriching experience. It was really nice. Yeah, and then from there, I just started to jump to 180 degrees and go to localization.
So that just seems so
Just like
random,
that, just
though,
like
right?
that.
You just
No,
wake
but
up and
it's
you're
just
like,
like,
you know what?
one day,
Yeah.
Loke.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm doing it. So,
Well,
like, did you have an
let's just say-
interest in that? Obviously,
No,
you liked
no,
English.
it was
so.
well. This is kind of like there was a really let's say just a bad year. The bad things happened.
At the
and
job, at the previous job.
No, no, not the job. On a personal level,
I see.
and so I had to reevaluate and rethink my life. Starting from the place where I was,
Right.
which I couldn't be there anymore for several reasons. So I had this friend of mine that just found this job opening.
You have a lot of friends with connections.
I like it.
You're always
I
like,
like
a
it.
friend of
I like
mine.
Yeah, no, that's true because I don't look for things myself. Actually, I was
It's pretty awesome.
yeah. I'm very lazy and very,
No, I wouldn't say that.
but I'm very lucky. So I saw this job opening for a video game localization company in Canada, which which is Ensign.
Right, enzyme.
Ah, Enzyme, okay.
Yeah, and that's where I made the jump.
Had
from
you
PlayStation to-
already been speaking Japanese at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
So at this point, you spoke no Japanese, right?
Zero.
You spoke English and Spanish.
English and Spanish.
You found a job opening in Canada, of
In
all places.
Canada,
You're just
yeah.
like,
In
okay,
Montreal.
Canada, why
Yeah,
not?
it's a beautiful place in Montreal.
Yeah.
Nice.
North of Montreal, actually. I was like, wow.
It
Because
was-
this is interesting. We'll talk about this
yeah, it
later.
was
But
not that close to Montreal. I mean, it is if you look at the map.
Right.
Actually, when you're there.
it was like what 100.
It was 2
Kilometers?
hours by bus.
To give the audience a little bit of insight here, it sounds like Albert and Manu knew each other there, and it's because they did, but we'll get to that in a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
Destiny brought us together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in Canada. It was April. It was snowing.
Okay.
Living in Malaga all my life.
Yeah, you're not used to
think,
this.
Yeah, I think I saw like snow like twice in my life, up to that point, and so that was really cool. And it was kind of that was like 3-4 months. That was really healing for me.
Cool.
The whole change. It was very good for me. And then, well, what happened is they opened Enzyme opened an office in Tokyo.
Right.
They made a round of interviews who wanted to come, and
Internally?
internally,
Yeah.
yeah. And I always loved Japan. I always have.
So wait, where did that come from?
Well, I guess like I don't know. Like I always like at that time, I like anime and reading manga and all that stuff. I guess like like a lot of people.
Cool.
And video games, of course. I remember I was a lot into Japanese RPGs at that time when I was in Spain.
Favorite RPG? Go.
Japanese RPG?
Well, yeah. So let's keep it
Let's
relevant.
say, there are many. I would say Final Fantasy.
There's a wrong answer here.
7 or 8.
I'm
sorry, Capcom.
he's pulling out 7 or 8 even.
7 or 8.
7 or 8.
Right.
But I would also say Suikoden because I really like that game.
Okay. How about non-Japanese?
And non-Japanese?
Yeah, non-Japanese
RPG?
RPG.
Say Skyrim? No.
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah, why not, man?
I love Skyrim.
Cool.
I love The Witcher.
You wrote a report on Skyrim.
I did, yeah. But my favorite game, is Dark Souls.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're more into the action
And
stuff.
actually,
Of Dark
if I
Souls,
may
man.
say, isn't that tattoo you've got right
it
there
is.
from Dark Souls?
Well, it is from Bloodborne, actually. But
Oh, Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet.
So
It's
yeah,
the
for the
same-
audience
same
who
horse,
can't
yeah.
see, and maybe we'll put this up as a picture if it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
He has a tattoo of Bloodborne on his wrist.
yeah, it's one of the rooms.
It's pretty
Cool.
sweet.
Yeah.
There's a story behind that, but
There is,
you can
yeah.
tell it if you want.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Let's go back to.
Yeah, let's go up because otherwise it's kind of branch.
So they're like, hey, Enzyme people in Montreal, come to Tokyo.
Yeah, come to Tokyo. It's cool. And I had no idea about Japanese, man. And I say, what, do they speak English there in the office at least? And I say, yeah, sure. So I did the interview and it went through and yeah, like I was in Tokyo. That was the summer of 2009, I think.
We talked about Enzyme, and obviously everyone in the room knows what they do. But
Yeah.
can you explain a little bit about what your job was? What was your day to
Yeah,
day?
good.
Well, actually, we were like a video game tester and localization. I think compared to Capcom, that job was more more about testing, like more than translating.
Right.
Actually, I think we would.
Yeah, they're a QA company. Right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not
So
a
we're
local
doing more
company, so to speak.
localization QA
Right.
more than translation, which
Right.
is what we do here. So yeah, that was about it. Alberto can
Yeah.
talk a lot more about it. Too.
In general, I think it was much more tedious work than we do here.
Yeah.
I think that's safe to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that means you're enjoying your job more now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Definitely,
Good.
By far. Not only it's a lot more interesting, but also the titles you work with, that makes a big difference. 'Cause
Well, you
Sure.
can't choose really you can't choose here either, but you know what RPs are, right?
Yeah.
When you're working at a third party, then you get what's given to you. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And we used to work with lots of companies, some of them like educational software companies, like games for even toddlers sometimes. So basically, it's like the worst game you can work at Capcom. That's still pretty much on par with the best ones we did there.
Actually, you have to remember that when we started, I think the PS4, like that generation, no? That
Right.
wasn't out. I think it was the PS3,
Yep.
Xbox
2009.
PS3, yeah.
2009, yeah.
Okay,
That was
and it was
even
pretty
before.
new, PS3 at that
I
time.
remember
Yeah.
testing. I guess we can say this, no? I remember testing Ghostbusters, the game.
Yeah.
You remember that?
The one on PS3?
Yeah.
All right.
PS3. Oh my.
I like
God.
that game.
Yeah, I played that game to death, man.
Yeah.
I played so much of it.
All with all the QA, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's one of the good ones.
That was one of the. Yeah. That was one of
I like that one a
That was one of the
lot.
most
Well, that
exciting,
one's
so.
almost, if I'm not mistaken here, it's considered almost canon, right?
Yeah. Technically, it's like canon.
Because
to
they
the
brought back all of
franchise.
the guys from the original.
Right. The only thing is because they did that, the voice acting was kind of like those
They're
guys
not used to
clearly
doing-
had,
right.
either maybe they didn't have a good director or something, but
Right.
like it could have been like if the voice acting was on point, that game could have been even better. you
Right,
know?
right.
As it was, it was
Yeah,
kinda-
I have very good memories about it.
that's a sweet game.
Yeah,
That's cool.
It was very fun.
That's a
Well,
sweet
and you know, to be fair, QA is where a lot of people get their start, and actually,
Yes,
QA
yeah.
especially now is super important to game development, right?
It is, yeah.
So you guys have a pretty important role.
No doubt, man.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I mean, it was a very good, how would you say, a gateway or
Stepping
a,
stone.
like a
Gateway,
stepping
yeah.
stone, like
Yeah, those
to
both
get
work.
into the video game industry because
Right.
I didn't know anything about it. So I was just starting from zero, and I was just learning, little by little about everything.
I think QA is one of those jobs that just shows like how important it is because it's very noticeable when it goes wrong, when it's not done at all, when it's a sloppy job. When the testers do a very good job, the game is just normal. It has no
Right.
bugs. It looks smooth. No one really thinks about it.
Right.
But when the game comes out full of bugs, then it's like, wow, what happened to this game? Like, who
Right.
tested this shit? Or
Right.
no one at all, right?
You know, and that's why they're unsung heroes a lot of the
Yes.
time, right? I think QA is super important, but a lot of times, as you said, if it's good, no one says, "Hey, great job, QA." They just go, "Well, that's what it's supposed to be."
Yeah.
Right.
And when it's bad, they're like, "Who tested this shit?"
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Yeah. And so, yeah, a lot of times you'll get people like, oh, look at this game sucked. But what they really mean is that for whatever reason, they probably didn't get a chance to QA it well, right? You know?
Well, sometimes it's
Sometimes,
just bad.
yeah, it's a little bad. And actually, a lot of times, what people don't realize is a lot of times the source material kind of sucks. So
There can be
that
that.
happens
Yeah, there
too.
are some things that you can't fix.
Yeah.
No matter how much you QA.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
sometimes you can't fix them for other reasons. For some reason you want to fix it, but
Right.
for some reason somebody won't let you. Or something like
Right. I mean, it's not a one. In an indie context, it's a little bit different, I imagine,
Yeah.
right? Because you have a small core team that's really looking at the vision. But when you get so large and the scale gets as big as ours, there's so many moving parts that
Yeah.
it's a lot more difficult.
that. Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's cool now. You've moved to Tokyo, and it's totally different from anything you've ever
Yeah.
expected or been
It was
around.
incredible. Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Well, it was mind blowing, man. I remember I would just say like my first night, like the day I arrived. I think it was like around noon, and then we went out that night, and I remember coming out of the train station in Shibuya, and then just turning back. If you come out from the Nentoshi line, you look back and then you're just staring at that, the
Wall
the
of people.
Shibuya, the crossing,
Right.
with all the neon and all that stuff, and it was raining, and so you have like this sea of like umbrellas, right, and the neon and the rain, and it was just such a beautiful image. And I have it like carved in my brain. So I felt really happy.
That's really cool. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean too. Like that
Yeah.
first time you see Shibuya or whatever. Like
Yeah.
even if not the first time, like there is definitely, especially for someone that hasn't grown up with that kind of like that urban environment. Like I had never been to New York.
Right.
Yeah, me neither.
When I was a
Me
kid.
neither.
I grew up in Detroit, so like we didn't have like a Times Square.
Right.
Really.
Exactly.
And
Probably didn't need it when I was growing up.
for you, it's a little different, right? For you, it's a little different. But yeah, right? So, like, I didn't get that. So, my first time seeing something like that, too, was also, like, Shibuya, And you get into Shibuya, and, you just see all, like you said, all the
Wow,
lights,
yeah.
And at night, like you're saying, the neon just, like, pops,
Yeah.
And, I know. It's just
and it's like what we were talking about before when we were coming about. I'm a super fan of Blade Runner, so
nice.
that I had that image there.
That's right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
good.
Blade Runner definitely, it feels like
Right?
that in a lot of ways, right? Yeah, man.
Has
It's so cool.
cyberpunk kind
Yeah.
of look, and it was so nice.
And now you're probably desensitized to it, right? Like it's like
Well, now I
whatever.
still see the magic, but of course, like you can't go back to that moment, no? That first impression.
Well, I remember the first time I had set foot in Japan in the 90s, and a friend of mine was driving me from the airport. Kansai Airport was fairly new, and they were driving me in from there, and going through and just seeing all the lights on the way back to. I was going to a university called Kansai Gaidai or Kansai Gaikokugo Daigaku, I guess, and it felt like I was in Akira. Like you see all the
Yeah.
lights coming up and everything. It's like, oh my God, I'm in the future.
Yeah. Or especially, I bet, in the
Being in
90s.
the 90s has been like crazy, right?
But yeah, I can totally. I'm sure we can all kind of understand that.
Relate,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So you started actually speaking Japanese once you moved to Tokyo. Then,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Okay.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I know, man. I know, because I just assumed that you had spoken Japanese for like half your life or some crap.
No.
Like,
I realized that I had to, you go to the bank, you try to rent an apartment or something. If you don't speak the language, it was very complicated.
Right.
It was very, very difficult. So I had to study.
Okay. Did you?
Manuel had some very good motivation early on.
Also,
too.
I met who is today my wife, but
Yeah.
my wife, she couldn't speak Spanish or English at that time. So
Okay,
the first weeks or months, it was really, really complicated communicating with each other. So that was one more reason, right? And
But
she was
guys-
helping me a lot. Of course.
Nice. And so you guys really worked through that then, huh?
Yeah.
And really worked to like learn to communicate with each other. That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Holy
I
crap.
remember we were talking in the office at the beginning, like, how do they even talk? Is that actually going to work out? Well,
They're
it really
married,
has.
yeah.
It really
That's
has.
really
Yeah,
cool.
it worked out.
Did you take like any classes or anything?
We had in Enzyme, they were kind enough to actually give us. It was like once a week, was it?
For a while.
We had like a teacher there, once a week, like an hour, and she would give us like homework. But that was like 1 hour a week, so
Right.
that wasn't really good.
Right.
Right.
So I would just like study on my own. Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, we were really lucky because there was a period that in Enzyme. They had like this. It was an agreement with the government, Albert, or something like that they could. Actually
The
offer
Canadian
us-
government, right?
No,
Or
the
the Japanese-
Japanese
Japanese,
government. It was kind of like a something like helping
I think
small companies.
Yeah, it was because of the financial crisis that the Japanese government was offering aid for companies that were struggling and were
Yeah, there was
getting-
there was a way to say, but I can't remember
Yeah.
what exactly it was. Well, basically, it came down to we didn't have to go to the office when there was no project,
Okay.
and we still could receive 80% of our salary.
Okay.
Oh wow,
So it was basically like a scholarship
wow,
for the months that we didn't have to.
that's really helpful.
So
it
yes, I
happened
was
that sometimes for a long while we wouldn't have any project, and so it was just very expensive for the company to keep us there doing nothing.
Sure.
And so they reached this sort of system where we could just stay home in a Jitaku Taiki system.
Yeah.
So
we would be
basically,
on
you're
call.
telecommuting, right?
Yeah.
Or okay, I see. You're actually literally waiting
Waiting
around.
at
Yeah,
Exactly.
like on standby
On call.
kind of.
Yeah,
thing,
you're on call. Yeah.
On call, exactly.
Like a doctor.
So you couldn't go anywhere, but
Waiting
yeah.
to save lives.
Well, you're doing it with the QA,
Yeah.
saving the lives.
Yeah. So the summer, for example, was really busy, but then the winter was very low on work. So I could just go to the study like 8 hours a day for like
Nice.
months. So I really
That's amazing. How did
Yeah.
did you like buy textbooks or something?
Yeah,
like,
of course,
okay.
yeah.
And so you just kind of went
Classic.
through them on your own for the most part.
Yeah, I would just like got I think you know it, the Minna no Nihongo. was
Right,
it?
right.
Okay.
That famous book.
Everyone's Japanese.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went through a couple of them.
Japanese for everyone, maybe?
Japanese for everyone?
Yeah, but for everyone, yeah. Everyone's Japanese.
What's the difference between a decent loke and my loke? Everyone's Japanese.
The story of Tanaka-san, no? There was always a Tanaka-san
Okay.
doing stuff.
Mr. Brown, maybe.
Mr. Brown and Tanaka. Yeah, so that was it.
Man, okay. So you're at Enzyme in Tokyo. And then how did you make the jump from Tokyo to Enzyme to Osaka and Capcom?
That was actually thanks to this guy.
Oh.
So wait,
Alberto.
maybe we should now.
Yeah,
we're,
now you should-
we're doing
so
the
we should-
crossover.
Yeah,
now.
do the crossover.
We should go and save that part and go to Albert
Nice.
to hear his story.
My story is a lot shorter
What?
because I'm younger than Manu. So
I don't have the wisdom or
I don't
the.
have white hair yet.
That's true. You don't. Yeah, you're doing good, man.
A little bit, maybe.
What's the age difference between you two?
I'm 35 now.
Yeah.
You're-
So like 6 years.
Okay.
41.
Okay. So, all right, where did you grow up then?
So I'm from a smaller city close to Barcelona. And that's an interesting point too, because it comes in handy sometimes. I'm from the north of Spain, Manu is from the south.
Cool.
And in the middle of localizing, sometimes it's like, Manu, like, do people over there say this too, or is this like a regionalism for us? Or
Right.
So yeah, I grew up there, and I never really moved. Like ever since I was born till university, it was always in the same place.
So are you two like extreme rivals because of the regional differences?
No, because Manu is not into football, and that's a very good thing.
Yeah, I don't really care about
For the Americans, they mean soccer.
Soccer, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. Yeah.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, there'd be wars, right? There'd be wars. Nothing would ever get done. But what did you study in college then?
So I started studying computer science,
Okay.
and then just like Manu, I ended up switching. I only studied that for 1 year, and then I thought that was not my thing. I remember one of the reasons why I thought I wanted to switch was because I didn't want to work in front of a PC for the rest of my life.
Well,
That has worked out for
Unfortunately,
well.
irony.
But yeah, I was starting to get like really interested in traveling and all at that time, and I felt like I was much more passionate about languages and other cultures than I was about PCs, about programming and stuff. So I ended up switching to translation and interpreting.
Wow, okay. And just in general, or were like, at that point, could you speak anything besides Spanish and English?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I had started studying a little bit of Japanese while I was in computer science.
Okay.
Because, and the story goes farther back actually. I was on a homestay in the US when I was 17.
Cool.
And interestingly, of all the things I saw there, I went to New York and all, and America was really cool, really great. But what really stuck with me was the Chinatown in New York.
Love Chinatown.
Yeah, America's great. The Chinatown.
But why? Why Chinatown?
We don't have anything like that in Spain, so it was the first time for me to see just lots of kanji around. And I just found that to be like so incredibly exotic and interesting. So I wanted
Vendors outside,
Yeah,
kind
all
of
the
shouting
time. Yeah,
across,
yeah.
and there's like all this hustle and bustle.
Exactly. Everything was just so unfamiliar that by comparison, you know, America, as cool as it was, it's like what you see in the movies ever since you're a kid. Okay. That was really new for me. I had never thought Asia was particularly interesting or anything.
Right.
And once I found myself there, I was like, this is actually something completely different, completely new for me.
Where were you living in the States?
I was there for just 1 month.
Oh, I
but,
see.
I was in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. So it
Yeah.
wasn't too far for you to get to New York City.
No, we went around to Boston, to
Right.
Maine, Vermont. Just tiny little trip.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that you got to do that when you're about 17 or so. Okay.
I feel it literally changed my life, honestly.
Wow.
That
'Cause
seems like it.
I was such a geek before that, and it was the first time that I really thought that there was more to life in general.
You're saying that you were a geek, like, I mean, you don't look like a geek. Like, now at least, maybe, and I don't, maybe back then you didn't either, but you don't look like a geek at all, right?
I'll take that as
You're like, yeah, you are like, definitely like, if you, I guarantee you, if you let us,
Dork, maybe.
if you let us post like a picture of you online, I guarantee you there are
Well,
so
we're
many
going
people
to, right?
that are going to be like, muy caliente.
Yeah, actually, audience, you decide.
Like,
Please don't.
No, he's a good-looking guy.
you know, yeah, I think so, you know, so I mean, like, did you like, you're saying that you were
Just
a
for
geek,
the record,
right?
and in that regard, I'm competing with Clancy here.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know what Manu looks like, he's Clancy in RE7. That's literally Manu.
We look exactly like
Yeah. Wait, was Alberto in RE7 too? I forget.
Kind of.
I think my body is in there,
Yeah.
but not my face.
Okay.
Right.
That's amazing. Okay. But, all right, so you were in New Hampshire. Apparently, being in Chinatown was this, like, experience that changed you completely, huh? And after that is when, in college, you decided to do the translating interpreting, right?
What happened is I went back home and I decided I wanted to study Chinese. And I had a sort of discussion with my dad because he was the one who was going to pay for the classes.
Okay.
And he's been working with electronics all his life. Basically, he told me, and I've brought this up to him like many times afterwards. He said literally, China is a poor country. Studying Chinese will never get you anywhere. That also
Second
worked out
largest
very well.
economy, you know.
Only he knew.
that's karmic justice for you.
Right?
He actually denies that he ever said that. But
You misunderstood.
Totally
him.
did.
I'm sure you did.
yeah,
Well, being like the electronics guy, was he the one that suggested Japan then?
exactly. Basically, we came to an agreement where he said, "Look, I'm gonna pay for your classes as long as it's Japan, like Japanese."
Wow, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, same thing, right?
At that age, it's like,
Yeah, I'm like, there's
Whatever.
kanji in there, yeah.
Okay,
That's
sure.
all I want.
whatever.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
So yeah, the whole reason why I started studying Japanese was like a little bit weird, but then it so happened that when I was 18, I came to Japan alone. It was my first travel alone for the first time, and I actually loved the country, and that really set in my mind that actually probably Japanese was a much better idea than Chinese, and I started studying while still being in computer science. So then I switched to translation studies, and I had a tiny little base of Japanese that was just almost non-existent, but I guess that got me a little bit of a head start there. And then I majored in English, French, and Japanese.
Wow. So you speak French too? I didn't know that.
Please don't mention that.
Yeah, we have a few French people that can test you.
I think I'm the secret semi-French speaker.
So you're secretly listening to all their conversations.
Oh,
and
you
going,
can do that.
Those mother.
Exactly. That's how we know, yeah.
Yeah, just like for understanding, practice, it helps me. But I please, for the life of mine, don't make me speak in French.
No, I understand. I won't speak Italian, French.
Plus, they sit right next to Hugo
I know.
and Fran, too. Yeah, so you probably hear that stuff every day, all the time.
Yeah, I wish they spoke more so I could train my ear a little bit more.
That'd be pretty sweet. That'd be pretty sweet. Man, okay, so you're like, all right, I'm going to do Japanese, French, and English. I love Japan, so I'm going to go to Canada.
Oh, wait, you skipped ahead. Well, there's French there at least.
That's true. Oh, so that's why.
Actually,
Wait, how
came
did
to
we?
Japan-
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I came to Japan twice more before that.
Okay.
I came for a second time while I was in second year at university, and I was traveling again in the summer, and that was quite an interesting trip because actually I decided I wanted to come to Japan even though I had no money at all. So I ended up hitchhiking and sleeping on the open for a couple of
Nice.
months.
Oh, wow.
Well, in Japan, I've done that actually, just as an experience. It's super safe.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
And in parks, there's always a bathroom, and they have public baths everywhere, which is like what 400 or 500 yen, like $5 just to get in. So yeah, totally do
Yeah,
it.
if there's one place in the world you could do it with no worries, it's here.
Yeah.
Plus, Japanese people are always like, every time I tell this story, they can't believe that anyone would pick you up in a car. Like, do strangers actually stop for you? I'm like, actually, it was pretty easy. There was lots of super kind people who would stop every time. Sometimes you'd have to wait 5 minutes, sometimes 10, 15, 2 hours in one case.
Right.
But that was like the worst. Never more than half an hour, I would say.
Yeah.
And traveled all over the country for free, making lots of friends, having lots of super interesting experiences. And I think that was the time I started to feel like I really wanted to either live here or do some sort of job that was related to Japan. So then I came for a third time as a student for 1 year with an exchange agreement with my home university. And that was in Tokyo. And so by the time I graduated from university, I had already been in Japan 3 times. One time living here for 1 year and twice visiting.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool. Yeah, it is amazing that, even in my experience as well, like the first time I came to Japan too, one of the things that made me fall in love with it was, just how nice people can be to complete strangers, you know. And maybe Japanese people aren't actually as nice to other Japanese people who are strangers, but at least if you look like foreign, you know,
If you look like you're not from around these parts.
it's at least in my experience too.
Yeah, I think
like,
they feel
super
responsible for you. They're like, oh my god, if I don't help you, he's just gonna die.
Actually, no, that's actually a really good point, because I find that obviously now no one approaches me and like, hey, because you don't look lost. I'm sure I look like a lost little rabbit when I first got here, just looking around, signs. I've had people, and this is years ago, but like literally hold me by the hand, little old ladies, and like, no, you need to go over here. They'd buy a ticket for me. They'd show me where the train was.
Exactly. You know what's funny? That really stayed with me when I went back home. I thought that was so incredibly kind, how people don't just give you directions, but actually walk you all the way there. So I tried to do the same back home. Whenever someone approached me,
this crazy man?
and everyone was so scared, like, oh yeah, you want to go to, sure, I'll just go with you, no worries. And everyone was like, wait, why? It's fine. I'll go
What do you
alone.
want from me? Oh, I know.
Yeah, you do that in Barcelona, probably. You know, they will think that you're going to rob them.
There's lots of pickpockets, there's lots of issues with that there, so everyone is like, oh, I asked the wrong person.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Jesus. Okay. Wow.
But how did you end up in Canada?
Sorry. So no, what happened then was I graduated from university, I was looking for my first job, and I found out that there was such a thing as being a game tester.
At that time,
So you were interested in games as well?
I'm not such a hardcore player any game anymore, compared to Manu, for example, or a lot of people in our localization department. But at that time, I used to play a lot. And whenever people ask me for many years, like what I wanted to be when I grew up, you know, that typical question you ask to kids, I always half jokingly said, I want to play video games for a living. And
then you did.
I never thought that was actually possible.
Oh, yeah.
It's like one of these jokes that we also have sometimes, like my mom used to nag me when I was a kid, saying, stop playing, that's never gonna, you're never gonna make a living out of that. Well, Mom, I'm sorry to say, but...
It's true. I mean, at that time was much more crazy than it is today. To talk about like working in the video game industry, it's like, what industry?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't even think, I've said this before, I think we all have, I never thought there was a place for me in it. Like, what would I do? What job could I get?
Yeah, same thing. So then, after graduating and started to look into possible translation jobs, I found out that being a game tester for localization was a thing. And so I thought that was a good stepping stone. Not really in the game industry, but in a translation career, in my case. And so I applied for different companies and ended up getting an offer for two. One was in Poland, and the other one was Enzyme in Canada. And I just thought that first of all, the job we were offered in Canada was in Quebec. It was a French-speaking place. I thought I had studied French, so might as well put it to use. And I also thought, well, Poland is just in Europe. It's close. I can go anytime. Sure. For the record, it's been 11 years. I've never been there. But yeah, I thought Quebec sounded more interesting, and so I went to this tiny little village 2 hours outside of Montreal to test video games for a living.
Man, that's where you guys first met.
Not really.
No kidding.
Actually, no.
No, we met for the first time in the Kawasaki office.
Yeah.
Already.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Tokyo.
In
Right.
Tokyo. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Were you guys at separate Enzyme offices in Canada then, or?
There's well, now I'm not so familiar anymore with what they have, but that
Now they're
time,
part of Keywords, right? So
Yeah. And
well, we don't even know if they kept the offices.
Right.
The
Yeah, I think their headquarters is now in a different city.
it's not even in
It's
Montreal.
in Saint Jerome.
It's San Jerome now. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at that time there was the headquarters in this tiny little village, and then they also had offices in Montreal. So I was in the small village for a couple of months, then moved to Montreal, and then I was in the office in Montreal for 8-9 months. I don't know. My stay in Quebec was for 1 year in total, more or less.
Yeah, when he was in Montreal, that was the time that I actually arrived to Santabel, to the village. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where we never met in Canada.
Okay, it wasn't until you guys were both in Japan.
Exactly, and then Alberto went before to Japan as an on-site, wasn't it?
No, they opened the office in Tokyo, and first they sent just two of us who were supposed to be the head start sort of
The
thing.
vanguard.
Yeah. Actually, that was very funny because when we got to the office, it was just a big empty space with lots of boxes around. And we just got there, and the other guy and I were like, so what are we going to do?
Or the pieces. Or the,
All right,
what are the furniture?
Okay, you could
take
just,
everything out of the boxes.
yeah, there's nothing to do for you now. Can you please just mount all the furniture?
Right.
Wow. Okay.
We were looking at each other
Startup. There you go.
yeah, okay. The other guy took it kind of badly. He's like, this is not in my contract, but okay, whatever. And actually I loved it. Once we got started, I felt like it was like Lego for adults. I got so enthusiastic about it, and really, when we ran out of furniture, I was so disappointed. I wanted more.
Holy crap.
But yeah, that was our first couple of days in the office. After that, there was 2 more guys coming, so we had a full fixed team.
Figs meaning French, Italian, German, and Spanish, right?
Yeah. And after that, we had a second fixed team coming. So we were 8 people already. And I think you, Manu, came with the third wave.
I think I was the third wave.
Third wave.
Yeah.
It's like coffee.
Yeah, I was. I can't remember. I think it was one of the WWE games.
Yeah.
I was 11, I think, or 12. I can't remember. But 11 or 12.
Can't remember either because they're all mixed in my mind.
Yeah.
Because we should also say here that we walked on WWE games for 2, 3, 4 years in a row.
3 years in a row, plus a couple of UFC games.
Yeah.
So you know a lot about wrestling now.
Yeah. At that time, man, we were super into it.
We did a PhD in wrestling.
Now I don't watch anymore, so I have no idea what's going on right now. But at that time, we had to. I mean, we had to because we were translating and testing the game. So
Right.
Okay.
so that was.
We did that for so long that we had so many in-jokes in the office about wrestling and stuff.
Oh, I bet.
It was cool because actually in the last, I think you left at that time. Or do you come with me to the when actually the show came to Tokyo?
No, that was
It wasn't, right?
immediately after I left.
Right.
So the WWF guys came to Japan,
Finally, I could watch live. You know, I never watching. So I
but
was
he had just gotten his job at Capcom.
the apogee of my career, you know, in during the wrestling games,
doing the
grand
WWE
finale.
stuff.
Yeah.
How was that? What was that experience like?
Oh, it was great. It
was amazing.
Yeah, I could see all
Your heroes.
all my heroes jumping and punching each other.
That's cool.
It was great.
Do you remember how close you got to sit to the ring?
I was pretty fun, man.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. I'm sure it was out
There's
of
a
your
lot of
pocket,
people.
so.
Yeah.
So wait, you built the furniture and then you left to go to Capcom.
Yeah, with a 3-year space in between.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the story. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, how did you end up at Capcom?
Yeah.
Well, so we were working there, Kawasaki office of Enzyme, testing games and all. And so it just happened, well, we were kind of settled in there, obviously. We had been there for more than 3 years. We had our friends and stuff. And just one night out drinking with my buddies. There's a very, very good friend of mine who also studied translation back home, who also studied Japanese, who happened to be working in that moment in a certain video game company in Tokyo.
Okay.
And who told me, hey, my girlfriend has told me that there's one of the Spanish localization experts living in Capcom. So the position is going to be available in case you would like to apply for it. I'm like, well, Capcom.
Yeah, that's
that's
pretty
really
big.
something. Yeah.
At the time.
Okay.
That's something that after being here for a few years, you kind of like just normalize and all.
Right.
But the first time you hear about like the possibility of working in Capcom, that's like what can be bigger than that?
Yeah, I hear
That's the
you.
dream come true, yeah.
I hear you.
True.
Exactly.
Man. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna apply and see what happens, eh?
Yeah, I thought might as well try. I mean, after testing games for a few years, I felt it's not like I'm unqualified.
Right.
I've been studying translation. I've been working in localization for a few years. I think I have a good shot at it. So I tried, and turns out here I am.
That's really cool. And so you guys, so when you're doing QA, that is, you're playing a game, you're checking to see that the text is accurate and I would assume is correct, right? Like from a grammatical perspective and that kind of stuff. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, there's
Well,
FQA, which is functional QA, right? And then there's low QA, right? Generally, they're separated. You'll have a team working on the functionality QA. You have another team working on low.
localization.
But that doesn't mean that the low QA can't report functionality
Yeah,
bugs,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
Of course they do.
Okay.
And sometimes they're intertwined.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the time we went in Enzyme, even if we're like just localization testing, if the game crashed, for example, we had to report it.
Right, you'd have a
That's
crash
right.
DOM.
Okay.
Even if it wasn't our competence, the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Depends on the guidelines you get for every project, though. Because sometimes, and this goes back a little bit to what we said before about certain games like being released with bugs and all. Like the scope of the test you do for every game can sometimes be very different.
Sure.
Like you get a game that is actually full of bugs and that you would really have a 1 month worth of work, and then the budget of that company might actually only cover a couple of days of testing. So you do what you can, and they tell you, no, don't report any functionality, don't report, because we really have to make the most of these couple of days.
Right.
Okay.
And even after your test, the game is being released so full of bugs, but you did what you could.
Right. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, there are limitations, right?
So then that's what you guys are doing at Enzyme. What do you guys do here now at Capcom?
Well, here we're more, let's say, translating first,
Yeah.
right?
Luckily.
There is, luckily, because we like
I
that more.
think that's a lot
It,
more
it varies
interesting.
project to project, though, right?
Yeah,
I would imagine,
it's
yeah.
more creative, but we take the game. We have sometimes, most of the time we translate from the English. We have the English, which is usually not final, because the Japanese is not final.
Right.
Like, you know how it works.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep
Oh,
changing
yeah.
all the time, and
I'm watching the Microsoft Teams chat for Devil May Cry when it's like, oh, this is coming. Can you look? I really need to ask you guys for this, but could you do this today? And you guys are like, fine, here you go.
yeah.
Yeah. I know how that goes.
So
Lots of editing too.
so we are translating, changing, proofreading each other, and make sure that everything is okay. It's okay. Make sure that no one is using regionalism like that's like sometimes it happens.
We work with games that are huge, like Monster Hunter.
Master
That's-
Hunter was
like
the biggest
the
one.
amount of text in there is just unbelievable. So there's a lot of work, not just translating, but later making sure all the terms are consistent.
Exactly.
And you keep trying to make sure, and you keep trying to make sure, and you're still months into the project, and you still find mistakes because just the scope of it is just huge.
It's very big.
Right.
I mean, we could probably take a deep dive into this if we had another hour or so. But yeah, I mean, you guys do way more than just translate, though, because the way I see it is, you're looking at, like, okay, there's voice, right? So you have
Also,
to look at how to actually make the voice fit the timing of what's there,
Yes.
right? So it's not just translating for the, let's say, the creative side of it, but also being creative within the limitations. Sometimes you have to match lip flaps. Sometimes you have to match timing. You have to look at each scene. You have to see what makes sense for your
Yes.
respective languages. You're also looking at, I know a lot of times you guys will report issues that maybe even the dev team hasn't picked up. Like, hey, you guys are going to need these system messages because they're not implemented in these files. What's up? Because you guys know the game in and out as well. Like, you guys know your versions probably better than anyone else on the team, which is pretty amazing, I think. And there's a lot of, I think a lot of people don't realize the amount of management that goes into it too. As you mentioned, the scope is so large. You guys are looking at databases, you're making sure that things are consistent, you're making sure that things, that everyone is communicating properly, especially if you're a lead on the project.
No doubt, man.
Yeah, also there's a lot of, I mean, not only Spanish, but also the other languages. Everyone's looking at the game. And of course, everyone has an opinion on the game. And everyone will come up and say, hey, you know, this, you know, from the story point of view, this doesn't make any sense. Why is this guy, like, saying this, right? It doesn't work in French, doesn't work in Spanish, doesn't work in whatever. So we bring it up. And sometimes it makes it better. And sometimes it's just like, wave it, you know, but at least we have that chance of trying to make the game better from every point of view, not only localization, but also story design, and menus and stuff.
Narrative perspective.
Exactly.
Speaking of narrative, do you guys ever like help direct the voices when we do, like, say, Spanish voices for, like, I don't know, Monster Hunter's got Spanish voice, doesn't it?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes. Well, the studio we work with. They do the direction.
We monitor the voice recording sessions, and luckily we tend to work with voice recording directors who are really, really good at what they do.
Cool.
So for the most part, we're just supervising the whole thing.
Yes.
We don't really need that much input from our side, but still the little input that is needed is very important, because sometimes we're the only ones who know, like, the context of what's going on.
That's their role, right?
I would
because
imagine.
they're looking at it from a design perspective.
Right.
The director's trying to get the best performance.
Right.
But he doesn't know the game. He or she doesn't know the game as intimately as these guys do.
Yeah, so can we cut this? Well, if you cut that, then it's a problem because whatever.
Right.
That makes sense.
So, like, oh, we only have 5 seconds here. I want to cut this word. Oh, no, you can't cut that word because actually that relates to something that happens two scenes later.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I love, you were mentioning that you guys proofread each other.
Yes.
I think that's fantastic. You know, I mean, even just like in everyday work, you know, like people have no idea, like, how much better their writing can be when you just have somebody proofread it. You know,
It's
Even
better,
somebody else.
It's better
you
to have
know?
a second opinion. That's
And I
for
mean,
sure.
now I thought you guys were split into 2 teams. I thought you had, like, team 1 and team 2. Is that right? Like, so how does that? What does that entail? Like, what's the difference between team 1 and team 2?
Well, first of all, we kind of take on different games. Alberto's more Monster Hunter, and I've been doing more Resident Evil and
Devil May Cry.
Your favorite game.
How do you say that in Spanish again?
Huh?
Devil May Cry. How do you say it in Spanish?
What's it called? Devil May Cry? I don't know.
We say Devil May Cry.
All right.
It's really different in Spanish.
La Devil May
You
Cry.
can say DMF instead of DMC.
All right. Right
You
on.
like it?
I'm done. I like it.
I'll
I like it.
write that for you.
Ooh, thank you. Right on.
So yeah, but that's the difference. Basically, we do the same, but just different games. No?
Okay.
What do you want?
Yeah.
So you do have an
Basically,
expertise then? Like, you're like, I want to
I mean-
be Monster Hunter. I know Monster Hunter better than anyone
Well, no,
else.
we didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is funny, because at some point it's like I got a Monster Hunter project, Manu got a Resident Evil 1, and then little by little we just kept building on that.
Okay.
But yeah, we never
I'm stuck with
really...
Monster Hunter. You know what? I'm stuck with Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we just when we did that,
Yeah, we never really had a fight at the beginning to see like who was the winner and who chose.
Right. Who's going to get the best title?
We
to make
like
that?
both games, so anything is fine.
But you guys still proofread each other. That's the thing. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
I mean
really cool.
that's why even like even if we are more in charge of like one title or the other, we both have to be familiar with the other one,
Right.
because we're still gonna be working with it all the time with proofreading, editing stuff.
Nice. I'm down.
Yeah, it's like for example, if I'm proofreading anything from Monster Hunter, I can give Alberto an opinion of, hey, I think this should be whatever, but I think the final word should be him, because
Right.
he's
Yep.
the expert, or
That's
the
cool.
one in charge with that.
Right.
That's cool.
There's also a lot of creative work involved that is much better when you have like two
Oh,
minds
yeah.
working on it.
Sure.
Definitely.
You have to find a certain new term for a certain object or a certain person, whatever. You try to think of a good idea. It's just easier when it's two of you
Definitely.
thinking than when it's just one person trying to brainstorm.
Of course, you have your experiences and your knowledge base to make a decision, but it's always good to test that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you and I just, we talk to each other about all kinds of stuff like that.
Sure.
Just like, I'm thinking about this right now. I'm dealing with this right now. What do you think? And
we'll
constantly
bounce
that back
ideas
and
off
forth,
each other,
and
and it makes it better.
we get better ideas
That's
that
important.
way.
I'm going to say this. Well, maybe if you said it this way, that might resonate a bit
Yeah.
better. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that. And there are no egos involved, right? Because when that happens, then
Quite
Oh,
the
you can't
opposite,
do it.
actually. The only problem with brainstorming sessions is we end up laughing too much because of the stupid ideas
So
coming
we
out.
don't, so no
Yeah.
work gets done, and we just like,
so there's no
fooling
brainstorming
around
anymore. You just stop.
for like hours.
Sometimes it is like that. It's like, look, let's stop for now. We get back to it in 1 hour.
We're not going anywhere. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, man. That makes a lot of sense. Man, that's awesome. Well, how we doing on time here?
Well, it's fine with me. I think Matt has to run to a meeting. I've been
Yeah.
enjoying talking to these guys, but
Yeah. I mean, we could talk for a while.
we could actually.
I
But
could skip my meeting.
I think you're already deep into this, but yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't
if
know,
it's up to you guys. I know you guys are busy. We're
Yeah.
doing this during the
Actually,
workday, so
busy today too. So,
Right on. Got to get back to work.
so you might want to
Definitely.
wrap this up.
Alright.
Yeah.
All right.
With anything that you guys want.
no. Well, do you have any
Sorry.
final things to close us out?
No, not really. Just buy the game.
Which game?
All of them.
all of them. All of the games.
All the games.
Don't be mean with the comments. We know the internet already.
Oh yeah, we read the comments. Not
yeah,
only,
cool.
Not only Spanish sites, but
Nice.
Do you have anywhere that people can reach you if they want to?
no, actually not.
No, don't ask me that question. Okay, Alberto, you?
Call Capcom and ask for my name.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You're just begging for trouble. Don't do that.
Oh, boy.
But Matt, where can they reach you?
Well, I am Gypsy Otoko on the internets. And
On the Twitters.
on the Twitters, yeah. Well, I guess technically on the internet, too. I kind of use that. as
Technically,
word.
yeah, it's very wide.
But you can reach us together, all of us,
At
at dev1 underscore official. That's right.
That's right. And you can reach me at pfabiano on the Twitters.
The Twitters.
Yes. And with that, I guess that's a wrap. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed having
Thanks
you.
to you.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Take
Yeah.
care, guys.